Alright guys, is Jonasi Gomora actually the villain in The Polygamist? Well, let's delve right into that. Now, first of all, he's a father figure, loved by the community, he's a respected man, and he has the wealth. But I later discovered that the more money you have, the more power you have, the more influence you have, the more tendencies there are for you to carry out bad vices and evil vices. Now think of this. This is someone who was born into poverty but had to hustle his way up to the top. Now, to him, he feels like he's a good father to his kids. He provides money for them. He provides this a house for them, a living. But they don't see him like that. His kids don't see him like that. His wife don't see him like that. And just because of one issue he had growing up, which was immorality. From day one, he has been with girls from his secondary school days. Now, that is his weakness. That is his habit. It is not justifiable, but human beings all have addictions that if they don't treat on time, when they have more power, more wealth, and more influence, they will begin to carry out those vices worse than people who they assumed as bad and terrible people. So, for example, a man is an alcoholic, he drinks alcohol, right? Now, give that man more money and he will have a tank of alcohol, because such addictions don't easily leave people. So, Jonasi Gomora, for me, he had his anger issues, he had his tendencies, but generally, other than his addiction to sex and his addiction to the immoral lifestyle, which later made him to have a blockage between him and his wife, right? There was a grift, there was no flow between him and his wife, and which later led to his demise. I'll say, basically and generally, the man was actually trying as a dad for his family. But the one person I can say he really failed was to Joyce. Okay, his kids can say, okay, they don't know how their dad is behaving, but in their dad said, they're like, who are these ones to tell me what to do? And that was why towards the end, before he died, his daughter was like, we apologize to me for everything he did, and he didn't say a single word. And I thought on that, it later made me realize that he actually didn't owe her an apology. That was the truth. Yes, he lived a reckless life, and people have their weaknesses. If you remember, his daughter was once partying and living a nonsense life, which can still make her end up like her father. Now look at Menzi. Look at how Menzi was already behaving at the end. See, they were all blaming him. They were all putting fingers at him, but they were not even looking at themselves. See, human nature has the tendency to do whatever it wants to do. Human nature loves to be free. Human nature loves to explore. And the more money and power you give a person, it is the easier it is for them to carry out those atrocities. So when you think of Jonasi Gomora, don't think of that that wicked man who dealt with everybody in the movie, who slept with almost all the ladies he saw. But think about it as if an addiction is not curbed on time, it can grow into something else. For me, I would say Jonasi was a determined man, a very successful man in his endeavor. He just needed more guidance and understanding about family management. If he had that, it would have been so good to go, and he would have been an icon in the eyes of other men. Remember his brother, when he was dying, and his brother came and told his children, Menzi and daughter Sarah, that we need to go and build this company back. Your father got us out of poverty. He even took them to their old home. See, Jonasi had his flaws, yes, but Jonasi did things for people. Like, that's his second wife. He actually built her a home, right? And even for Matipa, who was purely a gold digger, nobody has spoken about Matipa, who was a cobblestone digger. She got everything that she deserved, from losing her kids, from losing ownership to her kids, and the beating she got. She deserved everything because she saw a happy home, saw a rich man, and decided that, okay, I am going into this man's home because of money. She was a straight up stone cold digger, and she saw that all that glitters was not good at the end of the day. So Mr. Jonasi had his flaw, but all the characters in that movie, I don't see any of them as saints. I do not. Look at when the wife, Joyce, poisoned him. I know that she had been pushed to the wall, but she poisoned him and later sent someone to infect him with HIV. Look, human beings all have their evils in them, all have their demons in them. the fact that they are overemphasizing on Jonasi Gomora as the devil is getting out of hands. It's getting out of hands. So what did he really do? His main problem was immorality, which a lot of people presently have. So if you do not learn to control your urges on time, it can actually lead to something when you have more influences, when you have more power, when you have more resources. You can easily fly somebody to the beach house and do whatever you want to do. So that's why it's good to work on yourself before you reach that stage. So the more to point at Jonasi, the more I'm beginning to think, was he really that evil? Was he really that bad? Yes, he was thick-skinned. He could be unemotional sometimes. But was he really a terrible father? He actually loved all his kids. But his love with his wife got cold. And sometimes that happens in marriage. And if it is not worked on properly, it can lead to something terrible. Right? It can lead to something terrible. So for me, Jonasi Gomora had his issues, and which made him kind of like look like the villain at the end. But at the end of the day, the villain was not Jonasi or Joyce, but the villain was actually unchecked desires. If your desires are not properly checked, if your desires are not properly trained, it can go to anything. We saw him when he was young, womanizing, and now we saw him when he had more money, womanizing, sleeping with everybody from the old, the slim, the fat, the young. I mean, it was really, really crazy. And I believe the movie was actually epic, a very good South African movie. I recommend everyone, you can watch that movie. Very, very good family drama, and it teaches a lot about family. It teaches a lot about loyalty. It teaches a lot about betrayal. And I believe that the movie will actually take you to deeper depth of thoughts. You can drop yours in the comment section. You can see more on this. But I believe Jonasi Gomora is not fully the villain in quotes, although his unchecked desires led to that. But every other people in that movie were not saints. They were definitely not saints. So what's your thoughts? Who was actually the villain? And will you point out Jonasi as the villain? Will you point out all the gold diggers as the villain? Or will you point out unchecked desires of the villain? Drop yours in the comment section. I'll be answering them, and let us delve deeper and share some more knowledge. Because unchecked desires will lead to untimely demise. I'm David, Movie Reactor. Like and subscribe for more. I'll see you in our next video. You're welcome.